Laura here with a review of Amazing Spider-Man. Is the movie any good? It's okay. Perhaps the problem lies in the fact that Sony and director Mark Webb rely on so many of the same character and plot points from Sam Raimi's original film from 2002. On top of that, they're trying to mesh this with a real-world Dark Knight vibe, and it doesn't really make sense for the Spider-Man character. What does work is Mark Webb bringing a 500 Days of Summer style to the film. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone really spark to one another in those scenes as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone is impossible not to endure, and Garfield really pours his heart into the role of Peter Parker. The core concept of Amazing Spider-Man is the problem. They're redoing the origin story, so what they did in 30 minutes in Raimi's film takes like 2.5 hours here. They're fleshing out details that don't really matter, expanding on plot points that the audience has trouble caring about, and then they don't even bother to answer a lot of those questions in the end. The Lizard's the bad guy this time around, and he's achieved through CGI, which is fine, but not terribly convincing. On top of that, the character talks to himself and has a dual personality half the time, which is basically what we saw with the Green Goblin in the Sam Raimi film. As far as new elements, I was actually surprised by how much I enjoyed Dennis Leary's Captain Stacy. The character feels fresh, and he really has one of the more fully formed arcs in the film. Leary's a dad who's overly protective of his teenage daughter, and it's actually a lot of fun. The action and effects are generally fine, though the CGI doesn't always match with the practical effects when Garfield's in the Spidey suit. Ultimately though, none of the set pieces really have like that huge wow factor, although the 3D scenes are solid enough, and the point of view scenes are pretty cool. The Amazing Spider-Man stands as a lesson for all reboots. We don't need to see the origin story over and over and over again. And also, trying to cram the style of another successful franchise down the throat of a character where it doesn't fit really doesn't work. Spider-Man is not Batman, Batman is not Spider-Man. Undiscerning audiences might be mildly diverted by the film, but ultimately it just doesn't have the lasting impact of a lot of its peers. Marvel Studios is riding high with Avengers this summer, but unfortunately Spider-Man just doesn't swing to those same heights. I'm giving The Amazing Spider-Man a 6 out of 10.